Asante sana. As I stood here, I looked at them and I asked myself, are they twins? Maybe they are. And then they just confirmed that. Happy Mashujaa Day. Muko salama? Watu wameshiba? Sasa ni kulala? Well, I still have 1 hour, so I'm going to make it 20 minutes. Because sitaki kusimama hapa na watu walale. Yeah? Well, I'm very happy and honored and very privileged to be among you today and to be among aspiring leaders who are here. And I know this is a 3 rigorous days for you to discuss about leadership in various spheres of your life. I understand some of you are from universities, others are working, others are already leaders in their own spaces. Well done. My name is Patience Nyange. And well, they have said many things, and some of them are actually former titles. So I'm happy to correct some of those misinformation that they said. So I have a long journey, and I wear very many caps. But I'm happy to just try and do a brief. Have you been following the CS vetting the last 4 days? Watu walikuwa kiambiwa, 10 minutes, tell us about your life history. In 10 minutes. So while I've been practicing maybe my life history in 10 minutes, and I'm happy to do the same in less than 5 minutes. I was born and bred in Taita Taveta County many years ago. And then schooled for my primary school in Taita Taveta County, and then my high school as well in Taita Taveta County, and then came to Daystar University in Nairobi for my undergraduate studies. I did mass communication in Daystar University at River, and thereafter I went back to Coast Region and worked at Baraka FM. I think that's going to be my first slide. Mr. Whoever is handling my slides there. Yeah, maybe you might, I'm not sure if you can see this, but I call myself media, communication, and advocacy specialist. I do those 3 things with ease. So my background really is about media and communications. And as I said, I started off in Baraka FM Mombasa. I worked there for about 2.5 years, and then I had a desire to come back to Nairobi and do my master's. So I came back to Nairobi and went to the University of Nairobi and did international studies and diplomacy in the year 2009. While I was in Nairobi, I worked briefly for KBC and Internews Nairobi. And then, just before I finished my studies at Nairobi, I got an exchange program, courtesy of Association of Media Women in Kenya, and went to Norway. I worked in Norway as a journalist, working for the Norwegian Broadcasting Corporation, which is the state broadcaster in Norway. And then, as life will have it, you go outside kidogo, and then you want to come back. You feel like, wacha nirudi nyumbani kwetu. I feel like it's time to go back home. So after 2.5 years, I came back to Kenya and joined the BBC Nairobi. Part of the work that I did at BBC Nairobi was being a journalist and working for BBC Media Action in Nairobi as a broadcast mentor. After that, I ended my journalism experience. That was about 9 good years. So I sum all my work in 4 spaces: Baraka FM Mombasa, KBC Internews Nairobi, Norwegian Broadcasting Corporation, and BBC Nairobi, BBC Media Action Nairobi. When I went to school, or when as a young girl, all I knew is I wanted to tell stories. I'm a very good storyteller. I can tell stories using my voice. I can tell stories by writing. I love to tell stories, and I love to travel. So I say 2 things that can combine this can only be journalism. So that's what I really wanted to do. And when I was in Daystar, all I wanted to do was I wanted to work for the BBC. So everything I did, I said, finally I need to go to the BBC. And when I go to the BBC after 2.5 years, I said, oh, well, okay, so this is it. I said, I'm done with journalism. Because initially I looked at the BBC as my retirement space. But then I figured out life can be more. Because you are young, you yearn for spaces that you want to be. And most of the time when you get to those spaces, you realize, well, I could actually be more. So I summed up my journalism experience and decided I want to do public relations. And that's where I said my life is always within media, communications, and advocacy. So I went to public relations because in my undergraduate, I did mass communications with a minor in public relations. So I said, now that I have done my master's in Nairobi in international relations, and now that I also have an experience in public relations in my minor in Daystar, it's time to get into the PR field. I got a chance to work with the Ministry of Devolution. My next slide. I got a chance to work for the Ministry of Devolution and Planning then as a communication advisor to the Cabinet Secretary then, Madam Anne Waiguru. My next slide, please. Oh, sorry, the slide before, yes. So this is my public relations experience. From the year 2014 all the way to 2016, I worked at the Ministry of Devolution and Planning, and that is the time maybe most of you remember it was extremely hot. The NYS scandals, there were many other scandals, and well, my duty there was to communicate and tell the world what was happening within that ministry. After that, I went to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights as an assistant director at the chairperson's office. I love everything to do with human rights, and I really wanted to understand what is life like to defend human rights. I am an advocate for women, and I love to defend women and girls like my life depends on it. I am an unapologetic feminist. Everything to do with women is my area of interest. High five. I see a number of you here. A number of people don't say openly that I'm a feminist, but well, I am. In the year 2019, I summed up my work at the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights and went to the UK to do my second master's in Cardiff University, courtesy of Chevening Scholarship, the British scholarship. How many of you are applying for this Chevening Scholarship this year? Just only one person, right? Two. So I volunteer my time to assist people in ELF, Emerging Leaders Foundation. I don't charge anything. I go through your essays, I teach you. If you go to the next stage to do your interviews, I'm happy and available to help you until you get to the space that you want. And of course, the space that you want is for you to clinch the scholarship. My mentee, most of you might be knowing her, Stella Nderitu. How many of you know Stella Nderitu? Stella Nderitu works for Emerging Leaders Foundation. She's also my mentee. So when I went to the UK, I told my mentees, because I have a number of them under ELF, upon coming back, or as I finish, I need the second person to come to the UK. Because I don't want to come, ukenda kusoma, uko na room yako, uko na duvets, uko na viatu, uko na nini. I didn't want to bring stuff to Kenya. So I said, I want you to come in, I move out. So I need one of you to come. And I'm happy to assist you from the first time, writing the essays, the application stage, the interview stage, all the way. And so Stella Nderitu came to Cardiff University. She didn't buy any duvets, she didn't buy sheets, everything. She moved in, I moved out. So while I came back to Kenya in 2021, well, I was in Kenya in April because I finished and then I did my internship at the UK at the Kenyan Embassy. And so in 2021 April, I packed my belongings and returned to Kenya. I must say, as a Chevener in Cardiff, I got a distinction. So at my age, if I can get a distinction, I'm 38 years of age. So I was studying in Cardiff when I was about 36 there. So it only means even you as young people who are here, if you desire to excel, you can, right? You can. It's just for you to focus and put all your brains in what has taken you there, and you know you can do it. So when I came back in 2021 in April, I said politics is something I'm interested in. I'm not sure whether I'm ready for this now, but well, I want to see women in leadership spaces. And as it will be, Taita Taveta County, which is my home county, there was no woman at the governor's position. I reached out to my friends. Of course, Karen Okole is one of them, as you go. Bye. I see her there. Yeah, so Karen Okole is one of them, and I spoke to my friends and I told them, I have a desire to go back home. And they asked me to do what? I said, they want to go and run for the governor's seat. Are you sure, Patience? I said, yes. Why? I said, because I can't understand why there's no woman in 2022. And in my understanding, we are getting to spaces where we must have women represented in all areas. So Yeah, I reached out to the women who had vied before. Madam Jacinta Motela, maybe some of you might know her. She used to work for the CBK, Central Bank of Kenya before, and she tried in 2013. She tried again in 2017. She did not make it. And so she said, Patience, you know, hata wewe unaweza, badala ya kutafuta watu kwenda kukimbia kufanya siasa, hata wewe waweza. So go home and try and see what it means to run for this seat. So I put myself there. In July 1st, I announced my candidacy to run for the governor's position. It's a story for another day. It is a long story. You need a whole day for me to tell you about my experience. So while I did my best, I put my energy there for 11 months. I went to all the 4 constituencies in Taita Taveta County as a young woman, because every time I went to places, people would look at me and they go like, Mama, uko na miaka ngapi wewe? And then I told everybody I was 40. I said I'm 40, and they go like, si ungoja ufike 50. Wewe ni mdogo sana. Kiti cha ugavana ni kiti kikubwa sana kwako wewe. Si ngoja kidogo ufike 50, 55 hapo. So I dealt with many things. Umeolewa wapi wewe? Uko na watoto wangapi wewe? You know all those things that we ask women but you don't ask men? They ask me everything. And so I said, I'm going to be here whether I win or not. Mine is to see that there's a woman there. Luckily, by the time I announced my candidacy, 2, 3, 4 months later, another woman came on board. So at least we were 2. And then 6 months again, another woman came on board. And finally, we ended up having 3 women vying for gubernatorial position in Taita Taveta County. And Taita Taveta County was in the history for the first time having 3 women candidates. Of course, we did not make it. I came in number 5. I am happy I tried. So next time, maybe you can make it. Yeah, well, so politics is a story for another day. That's not why we're here today. We're here today because of my background in media and communications. And the reason we're here is to discuss the influence of media in leadership. How can we use media in our leadership? I know most of you, every time you think about media, what comes to mind when you think about media? This is going to be, I've finished my 10 minutes of talking about my life history. So now it's about you guys to tell us. What comes to mind when you think about media? Is media a good thing? Is media a bad thing? What is it to you? You, yes. Daystar? Sorry? Oh, okay, from
communications and media.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's 2 things. You decide what to do. You either go there with good intentions and bad results, or good intentions and good results, or bad intentions and good results. Like basically media is propaganda. So just narrate your propaganda and then flow. It's a real thing. It influences, speaking from experience, but what I'm saying is like everything there has some truth and some lies. That's why it's a propaganda.
Okay. So she sums up media as propaganda and says it has some truth, it has mostly lies, and therefore propaganda for her. Interesting. Somebody else? Yes, mister. Here, there's a guy in purple shirt.
Okay, thank you. My name is Shams. What I can say about media is like a platform to communicate.
A platform to communicate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's a platform for communication. Somebody else? Yes, on that side? You.
I think both of them sum it well. And for me, when I hear the word media, what comes to my mind is a channel.
It's a channel.
It's a channel. So a channel is only good when you use it well, and it's bad when you use it badly. So the results are yours to choose. Yeah.
Cool. For him, just like you, it's a platform. Him says it's a channel for communication. And it depends on how you use it. Somebody else who has a different opinion. Yeah? Right there.
I can say media is disseminating of information. It's different platforms. Yeah, so dissemination of information in different platforms.
Cool. I want to ask my next question. Has media influenced your life in any way, whether positive or negative? And if yes, negative or positive, do you have an example to draw, or example that you can share with us? Has media influenced your life in any way? Somebody else before him? Or him as we wait for somebody else? Yes.
Let me explain it this way, how it has influenced my life. I don't know whether it's positive or not, but I get it. It's a positive towards my career. I've done media studies from African Nazarene universities. So for me, media influenced my life. The first point, the very first day I tried to go look for a job as a presenter at Radio Jumbo to say. And then when I got there, the first question was, do you have a social media platform? And I was like, I do not have. The only thing I think I had at that particular time was Facebook, and I didn't have followers because I was not posting. The only thing I was doing over there was the idea of looking at pictures or just stuff that people post. I didn't have anything to do with it. So when I was asked that, and the next person who came was also asked the same question, and it was a lady who had Instagram followers, Twitter followers, TikTok, everywhere. It was like everywhere. And then she was given the job. I was told, go work hard. I was like, work hard in what? So to a point, I started asking myself a lot of questions. So just to answer the question, it did influence me. Today, I write articles, and all the articles I write, I post them all over social medias. Anything I do whatsoever, whether it's just mine or not, I post it. So at least maybe it will inspire one person, or so that I gain a follower. The most important thing is the follower over there, whether they like it or not. So for me, it did influence me. So that is how media came to me the very first time. I was like, okay, so the degree is not important now. You want me to have followers again. So it took me back, and in a way it also depressed me, because I was like, I've spent all my time and everybody has been telling me I'm good at this. Then I get the opportunity because we had done the first interview, I think, which we all passed. Now the second interview, where we were now asked about our social media platforms, and me not having a name on social media was not a good thing. So that the influence did not come out really well. Yeah.
Cool. Somebody else? Yes.
Hi, my name is Joy. So for me, media has influenced me positively, also negatively, but this story is positively. So there was a space I was in, and I was serving there, and it was during quarantine when everyone was inside, lockdown, so we wouldn't meet our friends and all. So I was with my friend. I decided to go live with her on their platform, and we're just talking, and a few months later, someone was looking for a person in the organization was looking for someone to talk on what they, I mean, to talk on a certain topic. And once they watched the live, they were like, okay, she was touching on what we wanted, so they picked me, and I was able to be part of what they were doing.
So you mean it's because that you had already been part of a given discussion and posted your conversations online, and therefore that's how they reached out to you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Somebody else with a different example? Or somebody else who wants to share here? Okay, there and then here.
Thank you so much. Said Julius is my name. Media. To me, I see media as an amplifier. For example, I would otherwise be inaudible and my voice would be inadequate reaching the other end if it was not this Kiswahili we call it kipaza sauti. So in the same way, media acts as an amplifier. And from the Christendom view of point, we see media as a new age prophet, projecting the future, determining the future, putting the ideas in the minds of people, whether they are good or bad. And also media does magic. We are here maybe 200 people, but media is involved, arakadabra, and you are being seen by 2 million people. So if your information is bad, then it is affecting someone somewhere. If it is good, it is changing and transforming someone's life. I have also been helped and influenced by media. For example, I have some of certificates I know I would not have gotten if it was not because of media. Thank you.
So media has influenced me.
What's your good name?
Oh, my name is Joshua Chama. So media has influenced me positively as a poet. Through the media, I've read great poets like the William Shakespeare, Kina Maya Angelou. So I've been reading their works, and from the time I started my journey as a poet, I became a co-author, and now I'm an author. So media has really proved my journey of poetry. Yeah.
Cool. I think you all have examples to draw, or you all have examples to explain how media has influenced your life in one way or another. And I think this far we all understand that there is cost of production, like he says. I will use his example. He will sit down and use all his time, create poems, and probably most of the time, if he was going to start meeting people to sell his books, it's going to be a lot of work. But just with the space that he is in media, he can easily use and cast down all his cost of production to say through social media, I can easily sell my books. Isn't that one of the things you've gained? And then the example, as he said, for people who are in businesses, motivational speakers, you can actually curate your messaging and post them through social media, for example, and go to media platforms, for example, TV, and sell your message there. And as he says, you're one person probably speaking to nobody when you're talking on media. Most of the time, we always assume it's only one person listening to you. And then later you look at your views and realize you're talking to 2 million people. So while media influences our life in one way or another, and it's the same case in leadership. Everyone who is a leader, everyone who is in leadership sphere, you're always looking out to see how can media amplify my voice? How can I use media to see that the work that I do can be explained through media, different platforms. I can use the same platforms that are there to pass my message. My next slide. Let me see if this plays.
Do you love your wife?
Yes.
Prove it. Like, what's the metric? Give me the number that helps me know, right? Because when you met her, you didn't love her. Now you love her, right? Tell me the day the love happened. It's an impossible question. But it's not that it doesn't exist, it's that it's much easier to prove over time, right? Leadership is the same thing. It's about transition. So if you were to go to the gym, it's like exercise, right? If you go to the gym and you work out and you come back and you look in the mirror, you will see nothing. And if you go to the gym the next day and you come back and you look in the mirror, you will see nothing, right? So clearly there's no results, can't be measured, it must not be effective. So we quit, right? Or if you fundamentally believe that this is the right course of action and you stick with it, like in a relationship, I bought her flowers and I wished her happy birthday, and she doesn't love me. Clearly I'll give up. That's not what happens. If you believe there's something there, you commit yourself to an act of service. You commit yourself to the regime, the exercise. You can screw it up. You can eat chocolate cake one day, you can skip a day or two. It allows for that. But if you stick with it consistently, I'm not exactly sure what day, but I know you'll start getting into shape. I know it. And the same with the relationship. It's not about the events. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency, right? You go to the dentist twice a year, your teeth will fall out. You have to brush your teeth every day for 2 minutes. What does brushing your teeth twice a day for 2 minutes do? Nothing. Unless you do it every day, twice a day for 2 minutes. Right? It's the consistency. Going to the gym for 9 hours does not get you into shape. Working out every day for 20 minutes gets you into shape. So the problem is we treat leadership with intensity. We have a 2-day offsite, we invite a bunch of speakers, we give everybody a certificate, you're a leader, right? Those things are like going to the dentist. They're very important, they're good for reminding us or getting us back on track, learning new lessons, but it's the daily practice of all the monotonous, little, boring things like brushing your teeth that matter the most. She didn't fall in love with you because you remembered her birthday and bought her flowers on Valentine's Day. She fell in love with you because when you woke up in the morning, you said good morning to her before you checked your phone. She fell in love with you because when you went to the fridge to get yourself a drink, you got her one without even asking. She fell in love with you because when you had an amazing day at work and she came home and she had a terrible day at work, you didn't say, yeah, but let me tell you about my day. You sat and listened to her awful day and you didn't say a thing about your amazing day. This is why she fell in love with you. I can't tell you exactly what day, and it was no particular thing you did. It was the accumulation of all of those little things that she woke up one day and as if she pressed a button, she goes, I love him, right? Leadership is exactly the same. There's no event. There's no thing I can tell you you have to do that your people will trust you. It just doesn't work that way. It's an accumulation of lots and lots of little things that anyone by themselves is innocuous and useless. Literally, pointless by themselves. People will look at little things that are good leadership practices and say, that won't work. And you're absolutely right. But if you do it consistently, and you do it in combination with lots of other little things, like saying good morning to someone, that looking them in the eye. My friend George, who's a 3-star general in the Marine Corps, he says his test for leadership, and I love this, he goes, his test for a good leader is if you ask somebody how their day is going, you actually care about the answer. The number of times we're walking to a meeting, we're rushing, we go, how are you? Not good, I got to get to you later, I'm late for a meeting. Right. If you ask the question, you were standing there and you were listening to the answer. It's those little innocuous things that you do over and over and over and over that people will say, I love my job. Not I like my job. I like my job means, yeah, the challenge is great, they pay me well, I like the people. I love my job means, I don't want to work anywhere else. I don't care how much somebody else is willing to pay me. I'm devoted to the people here, and I care desperately about the people here as if they were my family. In business, we have colleagues and coworkers. In the military, they have brothers and sisters. That's how they think of each other. If you really have a strong corporate culture, the people will think of each other like brothers and sisters. It's like a family, right? No, brothers and sisters. Deep love. Fight, but the love doesn't go away. Bicker, the love doesn't go away. And I'll fight with my sister, but if you threaten my sister, you're gonna have to deal with me, right? We'll fight internally, we'll bicker with each other, but nobody's gonna hurt each other, and if anything from the outside shows up, you're looking at a unified front. Brothers and sisters. Now, how do you create brothers and sisters out of strangers? Common beliefs, common values, parents, in other words, executives who care about their children's success, who care to raise their children, teach them skills, discipline them when necessary, help them build their self-confidence so that they can go on and achieve something more than you could have ever imagined achieving for yourself. That's leadership.
Thank you. Anything that you picked that you want to share? Yes, please, the lady on that end.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Nikita Wangari, and I picked actually 2 things. The first thing he said was leadership is all about transitions. If I can use Jesus as an example, before he became a leader, there was his birth, there was his announcing, there was his naming, there was his dedication, and then he was tempted in the wilderness. And then after that, now he went and picked his disciples and he became a leader. So I'd say it's about the little transitions you make in life, and it's a process. And the second thing I picked was when he said leadership is about relationships. Leadership, you have to have that relationship with people so that they can actually see that you're a leader, you're portraying the effort of being a leader. If I can use Jesus again as an example, Jesus went out healing. He built relationships with his disciples, and when it was time for him to leave, he even left the Holy Spirit because he knew they'll still need a leader. So yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Somebody else who picked something that you found very profound? Yes, the lady on that side.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
I picked 2 things.
And your
In
name is?
leadership, it's about being consistent. And another thing I heard is about listening more to someone than speaking. Thank you.
Okay. Somebody else?
Hello. So I picked leadership is the accumulation of little things.
That you do consistently. Yes. Yeah. Somebody else? Somebody else who has something that they picked from the video? Yeah?
Uh, Leadership is about the 20 minutes you have for 2 years, not the 9 hours you have for one day. So it's about the small things you do for a long time, not the instant gratification you get. So, yeah.
Great. And I think all of you have probably something that you have picked, but because of time, we might not give everybody an opportunity to say something. Well, it's the same. Can I get the next slide after that one? The purpose of influence is to speak up for those who have no influence. It's never about you. And so as leaders, you have media platforms that, as we said, most of us know. There is electronic media, we have TV, then we have, print media, and then we have social media platforms. All these are various platforms. And for you to really make effective use of all these media platforms, you have to remain consistent. It's not one thing, as you said, to open the social media platform and say, oh, wow, I have a social media platform now. No, it's what you do with that social media platform. What message are you passing through the social media platform? How frequent are you there? Do you know who your audience is? How do you ensure that they get the message from you to the consumers? Do you know your consumers? And so the influence of media in leadership is for you to define your audience first. Then to know where are they at any given moment. Which platforms do they use? If you're talking to young people, most of the time you probably find them on social media. If you're talking to our grannies, you probably want to talk to them through radio or TV. So what you have to do each day that is passing, you have to think through carefully which media platform are you using. And so the different platforms, media platforms, you probably find electronic media, as I said, there's TV, there's radio, there's telephone, all considered as electronic media. There's print media, you have newspapers, you have magazines, you have brochures, and then you have social media platforms. There are various social media platforms. I only pick 3: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So for you to make sure that there is influence through the media platforms that you use, whichever that you prefer, you have to ensure that you do consistently. And understanding your audience, for example, if you're talking to working or corporate people, most of the time you know that the siku vile naenda, wanaamka asubuhi, by 8 they're already in traffic, and that's why you hear most of the breakfast shows in the morning are targeting people as they go to work. Because at that time you have a passive audience that is listening to you. And especially if your audience is a kind of audience who probably use public means, then you want to ensure that even if it's your ad as somebody who is selling a product, you want to put your ad during that time, early morning or breakfast time, because your audience are listening to you at that time. If you want to pass a message, if you're a preacher and you want to preach to people, you're either preaching to them at the end of the day, watu wamechoka, mashida zao zimewasonga kwa kichwa, shida zote, and finally they're like, you know what, God, I can't do with this day. Most likely, that's the time you want to preach to them. That's the time you want to tell them, here is your encouragement for the day. I don't know how hard your day has been, but finally, can you find some encouragement? If you really want to talk to school-going children, probably when they come home at 5, that's when you want to talk to them. So maybe that's when you want to do educational stuff for young people who are home, have been in class the whole time, and then now they can listen to you. And that's why we have a lot of cartoons and school programs on Saturday morning, because a lot of young people at that time are actually home. So their parents can easily decide that they're going to listen to this platform at this hour. Or asubuhi wakiamka Saturday na hawaendi shuleni, wanaweza kufanya nini? They can watch cartoons, they can listen to program or school-going programs. So how you use media to ensure that it influences your leadership skills is for you to define who are your followers. Who is following you? What kind of leader are you? Do you know the people that you are leading? Because if you're a leader, then they're followers. Who are your followers? If you're a preacher, then it's the congregant in your church. If you are poet, as he says, and he writes his poets, then you're asking, through my poems, who am I talking to? It's the only way, once you know who your followers are, then you define how you want to talk to them. My next slide. The emerging media trend, of course, as it is now, is social media platforms. And we've spoken about it, and he says he lost his job simply because he did not have a digital footprint. A lot of people say there's too much pressure on social media platforms, especially on Instagram. Mimi siwezani nayo. Watu wameamka asubuhi, wameglam up, watu wameweka picha, watu wameweka filters. Siwezani. Yeah? Isn't it? There's too much pressure on social media platform, isn't it? So for young people, most of the time is you spend, before you post, umeangalia picha yako, ukai-edit, ukaifanya nini, you've taken a whole hour. And then you want to sit there and start monitoring feedback. Watu wangapi wamelike, watu wangapi wamekutukana, ngapi unaweza kutoa. Everything is almost really you're monitoring. You can spend a whole day. And that's why you realize social media managers make a lot of money. Or people who are managing different platforms for clients. I manage about four platforms for my clients. And you know that I can make money out of that. Because not everyone wants to, si kila mtu anaelewa how these platforms work. And each platform has its own audience. A lot of the time people tell you, you know, you can easily link all the platforms. Well, yes, you can. But you know what? In communication, we say you can't link them. The people who are on TikTok are probably not the people on Facebook, are actually not the people on TikTok, are not the people on Twitter. So the communication that you do in all the various platforms has to be skewed to the people who are target audience for all those platforms. But as it is now, for sure, you cannot do without social media platforms. It's one of the easiest ways for you to pass your message to large audience with very cheaply. It's one of the easiest way for you to reach a wider audience cheaply, instantly, and you get almost an instant feedback. But again, it's what we do with social media platforms. If you are there for the pressure, if you are there for you to feel like, you know, I need to be better than Susie, I need to be better like Nerima, I need to show the world that I'm doing better than, be real, be authentic, be you. And so there are various social media platforms. Engaging on social media isn't an option anymore. So if you're going to do it, want to do it well. I see on social media platform, people are very quick to abuse each other. People are very quick to hurl insults at anyone. You don't like them? Well, it's fine for you to read and scroll down. It's a practice that most of us really want to, you know, to try. Nimesoma sipendi, lakini si lazima ucomment. Nimesoma sipendi, si lazima ujibu mtu. I saw a guy recently said 3-4 years ago, he had gone to this bank and I think it treated him in a way that he didn't like. So what he did, he ran to Twitter and said, whatever bank it was, I don't remember, but let's look at ABSA. And says, ABSA is the most useless bank in this whole world. Did you see that tweet? And then 4 or 5 years down the line, he's gone for an interview in the same bank. And the manager finishes after the interview and says, is this you? I said, I think I did very well, but I lost the job right there. Because, well, internet does not forget. And so the insults that you feel like it's very easy for you to be a keyboard warrior, and because you can't face people face to face, but you know when you're on your keyboard, you feel like I am this monster. And I can insult everybody I can because I have the language and I have my data. Well, it comes to haunt you some many years. Every time you think of whatever it is that you're posting, it's not just you. You have your siblings there, you have your spouses there, you have your children there. Everybody else is watching. And all of you are interlinked, you have all as your friends. All of you are, you know, these are, inside here are your next employers. Inside here are your colleagues. Inside here are people who will write your recommendation. I met Karen Wakoli, the lady who just finished here. We met at the University of Nairobi in 2009. Many years later, I've been serving as a board member at ELF and a mentor at ELF, and that's where I met Joe. So you see, the world is almost a web. Yeah, you meet one person, there's a relationship that goes many years ago, and then that relationship gets to another level, you meet other people, and I'll tell you, for me to be here, Joe has done a fantastic job. We just spoke about it with Karen, and say the pressure Joe has put us. He's been sending, Patience, can you confirm? Patience, can you be there? Patience, will you make it? Patience, I said, Joe, I will come. Yeah? And I only met him once during he left, and he said, will you kindly make it? And I said, it's almost a month away, but I'm not sure if I'll be in Nairobi. And if I'm in Nairobi, I will let you know. But let's talk 1 week into the event. And that 1 week into the event, well, until last night, I sent him a presentation at 2 in the morning, I think, because I'd promised him, before you go to bed, you will get my presentation. So these friendships that we create here, and because you know each other, but you can't speak to each other, and you think you can speak to each other through social media platforms and you can consult each other, sometimes it comes to haunt you. Through Wakoli, I met your next presenter, Nerima Wako, who is also the CEO at Siasa Place. And through that, we have come a long way, and we help each other as women within these platforms. And well, it is a sisterhood that you create based on all these friendships that we have. And so you also want to create a platform where even in the media space, you're also supporting each other and you're speaking out for each other. One of the things I don't do as Patience is I never insult another woman. I don't do it. A lot of the time my heart cries out when a woman has made a mistake, and you know that the world judges women harshly more than the world for the men. And then a woman makes a mistake, whatever mistake it is, whatever is perceived to be mistake, because for women, many things are perceived to be mistake. And then you watch at how women tear each other down and say, I can't do this, I don't do it. You know? So define how you want to use your space. Everybody now, because of social media platforms, everybody has a space, has a media digital footprint. And that space gives you voice because hakuna mtu anakuona. A lot of people have pseudonyms. It's not you, and so you can easily keep insulting each other. But you know, most of the time it's really a projection and a reflection of who you are as a person. My next slide. As leaders, the role of media in leadership. Media plays a critical role in our day-to-day lives. It is essential in our leadership journey. Media is a key stakeholder in leadership. This week, one of the things I have been doing is helping with this CS vetting. So I have watched almost all the 15 candidates that have been interviewed, listened to them, watched their body language because I'm writing a report. And so one of the things that I have done, I didn't go to parliament, but I was in my house. And through the TV, I watched everybody, right? And most of you probably have. Media helps us with information. The right to access information is enshrined within our Constitution. Access to Information Act 2016, Part 2, Section 4, provides that every citizen has the right to access information held by the state. It is your right. If you cannot find information that is provided by government, then there's a problem, because it's a constitutional right for you to be able to access every information. Another person, and where the information is required for the exercise or protection of any right of fundamental freedom. And therefore, media serves as a key source of information. Most of the time, we have said initially, for those of us within the media profession, we worried about citizen journalism. We worried about social media platforms and said, because now everybody's a journalist and everyone posts information, what happens to professional journalism? But well, we all watch, many of us still watch news at 7, at 1, at 4, at TV, just to confirm what we saw on social media platforms. Many of us listen to radio to confirm the information that we saw, because we still believe that the media provides the right source of information. So, every time you have a platform as a leader, and most of the time you have a platform to go on TV to explain what this program is all about, to go on TV to explain the kind of products that you are selling, ensure you use the media for the benefit of your organization, for the benefit of you as a brand. If you can use your 50 minutes, for example, on air, on TV, then ensure that those 50 minutes make a mark in your organization. Because right there, there's an influence to change lives and impact lives. My next slide. How can we use media in leadership? Media plays an important role, as we said, as a source of information, but also as a watchdog and scrutinizer. Most of the time when we have problems, and you have seen a lot of things that have been happening, how many of you have been following the story of our laborers in Saudi Arabia or in the Middle East? Most of you have. And probably your interest was drawn because of the many things that you have seen on social media, including one of the ladies who was believed to be breastfeeding dogs. Right? How many of you saw that video clip? How many of you believed the video clip in the first instance? And then later you realized it was a fake video clip. And then you felt really silly and said, oh wow. So we were all fooled here. Yes, many of us were fooled. But that's what we are saying. Through the media, a lot of things, every time we see that there is something that people are interested in. There's something that is taking everyone's action. Everyone wants to bring in some juicy thing to make it continue. Well, that's what we are saying, that there's the power in communication. And there's the power in media. But it's how we use it. So please don't be that person who creates fake videos to elicit reactions. We can communicate. We can say the things that we want to say, and we can use the media as a watchdog. Media provides a platform for engagement between leaders and their followers. A lot of us here probably don't know the president face to face, but you know him through the media, isn't it? You know probably his manifesto because he's spoken about his manifesto through the media. You've engaged with him. There is a platform for engagement. Media provides an avenue for information sharing on matters that are important to citizens. Today, when the fuel prices are hiked, it affects you. If you're a commuter, it affects you. If you have your own car, it affects you. Whatever way, it affects our lives. And therefore, the first instance where we go is, what has the media said about this? Media provides an opportunity for holding our leaders accountable. A lot of us now are waiting for the 100 days of our governors. What have they done? Of 100 days of our current government, what have they done? Where are the promises? You can all sit down, and I'm sure most of these things, Nerima will talk about them. You can all sit down and say, politics ni za watu wengine, la hasha. The water you drink is politics. The food you eat is politics. Everything is about politics. So you cannot leave it to other people and say you're not part and parcel. You must hold your leaders accountable. That is what good people do. That's why governance thrives if people hold their leaders accountable. Yesterday, I saw a bad scenario, and I hope it doesn't go or continue in the manner it is, as it is now. You saw the story about Meru governor. It's barely 2 months, and the MC is already up in arms. Hatumtaki, kwaheri. Really? So while we are holding our leaders accountable, also, how do we do that? How is our conduct and how is our decorum? Media provides an opportunity for a platform for criticism and debate to ensure that information is tested and examined from all points of view, real-time, and filtered feedback, and I use the example for Saudi Arabia. A vital resource for gaining insights that can lead to immediate action and better business decisions. A lot of the time now you see conversations start from social media platform. And there are many examples we can draw from. The case of the boy, I don't remember his name, but the one who had an incident, the boy who died at Kenyatta Hospital, who had the fork on his head. Do you remember the story? Do you? Well, it started from social media. And then, of course, it went on mainstream media. And eventually, we're still there and pressing for justice. The next slide. The use of media, effective use of media by leaders. One, media provides for a two-way dialogue that can be used to influence decisions and outcomes, hence shift in power dynamics. A lot of the time, especially in government, you've had a government that talks down at its citizens. They come to you and they ask for votes and they promise that they're going to be real engagement with citizens, and then later it's a government that talks to you. But through media, you can use that as a real-time engagement. When your leaders come on media platform, for example, on TV, on talk shows, you're able to engage with them. You're able to have a chance for you to post your feedback. You're able to have a chance for you to engage with them. And maybe by posting or commenting, and even on social media platforms, you're able to write to them. And sometimes you get feedback. An effective leader communicates, whether on social media or any platforms they choose, but they communicate. They enhance the interaction. If you cannot be a leader who is just leading yourself. Wewe ni leader, ukiulizwa na lead nani, najilid mimi peke yangu. Yeah? Most of the time as a leader, you have followers. So it can be, if Joe was going to be here today and says, I'm going to do my 360 leadership conference, and he sits here and talks to himself and puts all this here and says, well, I have been leading myself the whole day. I'm sure he wouldn't do it. But because you are here and because there's some transformation, he hopes that all of you get a chance to be able to transform your lives, then right there's some process that is taking place. Effective use of media facilitates connection and promotes staying current. You all know what's happening. You're able to change your ideas. If you're selling a product or you're selling a leadership conversation, you are staying current and wondering and saying, what are some of these topics that we can bring to our generation together? Mental health is one of those issues that many people, young people are battling with. And you find that in most forums where young people are, it's one of the conversations, one of the topics. It's also about facilitating connections, that's what we said, and staying current. As a leader, media will help you build networks, stay in touch, and create rapport. Most of the time, you don't need to meet everybody physically. And COVID has taught us, a lot of the time, many of us didn't go to work, but we worked virtually, or we met people virtually. You follow people virtually, or you follow people on social media through the platforms that you love. So you have a connection platform that you can, and as a leader, you must stay current. You must stay updated with what is happening and what other people are doing in the same space that you are in. The next slide. Well, that's where I ended. That you have media platform for you as young leaders to use the platform for effective influence. How you use the media is up to you to decide. That I have the platform here, but what do I do with it? If you're going to transform your lives and transform the lives of people who follow you, then you must make sure that it's effective use of media platform to create the effective influence that you need. Any questions so far? Maswali? Clarity?
Media is all about propaganda. So my question is how to distinguish between now how to filter the content so that we get the right content. You don't be only joining in the conversation of maybe a wrong, something like a fake media. I hope you understand. You are getting me. Yeah. So how do you filter them so that when you are contributing to a communication, you are contributing to a unhealthy communication or unhealthy topic? So thank you.
Somebody else? Thank you. Somebody else with a question? So he asked about how do you stay away from propaganda, or how do you filter to be sure that the information that you're consuming is actually real and not propaganda? Do you have an idea? Mm-hmm. The communication graduate here.
There are three types of propaganda. There's white, gray, and black. Black is anti-Semitic comments, something that's going to lead to wars or genocides. Like you see, 2007, 2008 post-election violence, that communication is categorized as black propaganda because it leads to violence, it's harmful, it's basically not good. And something like trolling, personally to me, I categorize it as black propaganda because you're affecting someone's mental health or an organization's reputation. So that's black propaganda. So anything that does not stand with your values and principles of someone as a human being, you shouldn't get involved in them first. Now, gray propaganda is very political, that you can't know whether they're saying the truth or not. That happens a lot with politicians. They will exaggerate truths or exaggerate lies to fit to their agenda. That was happening a lot when we were receiving the results. And everyone was saying, oh, tumeshinda, oh, we won by this, by that, and whatever. Now that was gray propaganda. Yes, kula mtu alishinda, but the fact that both parties were saying that wameshinda, you didn't know what the truth was. But the truth was, there was a winner. Now white propaganda is the truth. It is true there's COVID, it is true you should mask up, it is true you should social distance. That's white propaganda. Propaganda is in everything. What is it called? Slavery. Like everything that's related to us as human beings, has a truth, has a lie, and has an exaggerated truth or lie. So that's basically life. So anything that goes against your principles and morals as a human being, just don't get involved in that conversation. It's as simple as that.
Well, it's as simple as that. One way for you to see whether to confirm source of information is to confirm with 1 or 2 or 3 different sources of information. If you find it on social media platform, ask yourself who is talking about it. A lot of the time, and I will give you the same examples as we're talking about, like the Kenyatta case of that young boy. It started online, and then slowly it was picked by mainstream media. But then mainstream media will always give you 1 or more sources. That this is somebody who said, oh, there's a boy who is lying in Kenyatta Hospital. He's had a fork on his head for the last 24 hours. He's not been attended to. Media will easily go to Kenyatta because he's right here and confirm from the hospital. Is this true? Is this case going? So for you to be, before you know the information, then you know because it has gone on social media and it's getting viral, most of the time the response will come from Kenyatta Hospital. And as you realize that Kenyatta was very fast to say, well, we have this case, but we're still monitoring the case. That confirms to you that information is real. And then you can monitor the information before you start forwarding. But because all of us are in WhatsApp groups, and it's very easy for you to feel like you have umepata splash. Yeah, that's what we call it in media. It's the first information that you have. Mimi ndio kwanza kuipata, marafiki zangu hawako nayo, wacha ni forward. Many of us are forwarding fake information. So before, it's within your responsibility for you as a good citizen and as a leader. Before you forward something, please try and ensure that you've at least confirmed from 2 different sources. You've checked through the other platforms that you are in. Are people having the conversation about this? No. Did you see it from this conversation? Yes. What was the conversation there? You can easily follow 3, 4, 5 comments before you forward something. Then go to the mainstream media and check what are citizens said about this. Has KTN said anything? Has Nation said anything about this? None of them has spoken about something. Please don't forward such information. Because later, when it gets to problem when people are being looked at, nani aliforward information? Imagine if it was you. Utaenda kusimama kwa koti kwanza kudefend information yenye ulikuwa hujui hata ilikuwa wapi. So there's something called personal responsibility. So as you're saying, ensure that you always can see the information from at least 2 to 3 different sources for you to be able to say this is real or fake. For the case of the video clip of this lady who was breastfeeding, watoto wa mbwa wanaitwa nini? Puppies. Initially, I didn't see before, and one of my cousin is a computer scientist and said, stop right there. Somebody, my cousin's group, my cousin posted it, and then my other cousin who is a computer scientist said, stop right there. This is fake video. I asked, how do you know it's fake? And said, I will send you all the links to show you that this is a pornographic site, and this is where they picked it, and this is a doctored video. And so when I saw it making rounds in other platform that I was as a responsible Kenyan, I said, hold on, it is a fake video. It has been confirmed, and this is XYZ, because I told him, start the facts to prove that this is fake. And then he did that. And so in all the platform that I was, I said very fast, it's fake video based on XYZ, and he proved. And because I believe him in that area, he's one of those people who will always tell us, this is a hacked site, don't open, don't do this, don't, stop right there. He's always his first word, stop right there, this is fake. So before you forward something, and most of these things are always very sensational. It's about moving emotions. So you feel touched to imagine, oh wow, if this was my sister, if this was my daughter, how does this make me feel? And you want to forward and pass the information. Oh, our sisters in Saudi Arabia are suffering. Well, before you do that, ensure that you've confirmed from other sources. Check it nicely and see the link. Because later I figured out, I was like, okay, so there was actually a link down there that we didn't check, that we didn't see. So there's always confirm with 1 or 2, 3 different sources. And your right sources to confirm is to find out from the organization, for example, in the case of Kenyatta Hospital, what is Kenyatta Hospital saying about it? Has it said something? Well, they will have said something. Has the mainstream media said something? Well, they have said something. Then that story is real. Somebody else, just before you? Now I think I have only 1 minute left.
All right.
I'm Christine Juma. I want to know, where do you draw the line in terms of ethics and money making? Because we're seeing, especially in the social media platforms, young people are willing to go to any extent to make money. So it doesn't matter whether they're saying the truth or they're lying or cloud chasing. So as patients, Nyange, where do you draw the line? I've also seen in the mainstream media some media personalities resigning because they do not agree with let's say a certain media platform or station is known to follow a certain candidate or to campaign for them, and then we see some people resigning from it. So where do we actually draw the line between ethics and money-making venture?
Good question, especially in the age that in the era that we are in, the digital era that we are in. So media, I served as a commissioner at the Media Council of Kenya. And the Media Council of Kenya regulates the conduct of journalism and journalists in this country. And so one of the things that we do is to actually say that every journalist is guided by the code of conduct for journalism or for journalists. And in that code of conduct, it has everything that talks about media and ethics and how you need to conduct yourself as a journalist, what you need to do. And one of the elements in good journalism or for good journalists is to remain impartial. But again, is that the truth? A lot of the time, and I know media has been, you could easily watch during election and say, hey, media house, hey, ina promote X candidate. Hey, nyingine ina promote Y candidate. Well, it's about interest. Every person has interest. Most of the media owners have interest with specific candidates. And therefore, they could be supporting them, and as they support them all the time, they're using, the space in media to be able to create an avenue for them to support their candidates, their preferred candidates. So while as a journalist, it's your responsibility for you to remain impartial, if there's anything like that, or objective, and to stay within the code of conduct, which of course explains our ethics on how we conduct ourselves as journalists. So many people, as you said, very few journalists will resign because, you know, our media owner has said we must support XYZ candidate. Because at the end of the time, you have to pay your bills. And so you'll probably continue doing your story, but they might never see the light of the day. Some other stories will see the light of the day. Do your part and do it right way, guided by the media and ethics or guided by the conduct and of journalism. And in the same manner, when it comes to cloud chasing, well, it's people, we talk about media influencers. Everybody's making money out of that. How many followers do I have? So you're growing your followers and they get to a given level and say, I'm negotiating because I have 200 million, or I have 20 million followers, or I have 2 million followers. So when I sell this kind of a product, this is the amount of money I'm making. Again, organization will easily do that. But the right way to do it, for me, what I keep telling my clients, is grow influencers who believe in your cause. Just don't get any random patients to say, do this. I've done for clients a day event or 2 days event and get paid, and we have tukachana hapo. But the truth is, like for example, ELF, today if I stand and speak about Emerging Leaders Foundation, I speak as a person who's grown, who's been there for 6-8 years. I know what Emerging Leaders Foundation is all about. I have been there, I've interacted with the mentees. So if I stand and say, and I'm Emerging Leaders influencer or ELF ambassador, I can actually say that there are people that I know for sure are ambassadors of a given organization. So for you to really get the right people within an organization is to grow them, to believe in the cause, to know the values that organization has, and over time, they almost become your ambassadors, they become your influencers, and they can speak on your behalf. Yeah. My time is up. Should I give him a chance? No. Well, I hope it's not a conversation that we finish one day. It's a long conversation, and I think this program, as I said, you continue having conversations. Be on the lookout, read about the role of media and the influence it has, read about leadership and influence. Continue searching for yourself. Tafuta knowledge kama ndio unategemea maishani mwako. Any small opportunity that you have to engage, whether you're going to listen to platforms, there's so many online links lately. If you get this opportunity like today, it's a holiday, it's a Mashujaa day. Mimi ningetaka kulala, but I am here. But I'm even more proud of the people that have spent here for the last 2 to 3 days. Because when you leave that door tomorrow, you'll be a different person. You'll have been made a better, you become a better person than the person who spent the whole day sleeping or watching movies. So I'm always very proud of young people, every person who makes it their own responsibility to gain more knowledge or to go out and search for information. So I wish you all the very best. Keep in touch. I am available on various platforms. If you want to write me an email, as Joe did, we met Joe one day and the following day he wrote me an email and said, Patience, you must come and speak to my people. My email address is nyange@gmail.com. I'm on Twitter as Nyange Patience. I am also on Facebook as Patience Nyange. I'm available on call. Joe has my number. Feel free to call me. If I don't receive your call, I'm happy to turn your call whatever time. And if I don't return it on that day, maybe another 2 or 3 days, but I'm sure I'll return your missed call. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana.